Oh, howdy my friends, Scott Bong Groovy here from GroovyMusicLessons.com. Me and my little green Merle, a caster, today are going to show my friends that love the old country, just the basic setup for getting great sounding classic country sounds. A good clean amp like a PV. This is the old one, like the Mark III PV Bandit or a PV Bandit 65. Any of those old ones, the PV Special, PV Special 130s. Those old amps are amazing. And then I'm sure whatever you get will be okay, but those are some of the still workhorses of country music that people who are learning and even performing, I mean, they covered the stage of the Grand Ole Opry for 20 some years, and so there's something definitely to them. And I would honestly advise you, you guys always ask, should I get this pedal and that pedal? It's like, no, get one pedal and call it quits. And I use this all the time. These little Digitech RP, they've got every effect in here. This one's got, I'm looking, I see about 12 different effects in here, and a drum machine. And there's so many of those, and 25 to 30 bucks used on eBay. Get that before you get anything and call it a day. Enjoy it for a while, because that's probably all you're going to need, and it's going to serve you better. You don't want pedals where you have like one delay pedal or echo, whatever you want to call it, down on the ground, and you're constantly going down there and twisting knobs trying to get it in the same time with the music, because it'll be programmed on there already. You just hit a button, it goes to one of the probably 4 different sounds that you're probably going to have to use throughout a night. I never use more than that, because you don't need to. It's just this kind of music, you don't need that kind of stuff. Even with as much as has changed, country guitar is still country guitar when it comes to the sounds that you and I are looking for. Okay, so single coil pickups, number one, are always a beautiful must-have thing. That's what gives everything this sound. Strat, Tele, anything that looks like one. I've got great guitars that look like couple of dogs getting it on, but it still sounds like a Strat Tele. You just kind of get bored of the same old shape every now and then and want to cheat on it with something pretty wild, you know what I mean? So I always avoid using any knobs on my guitars. The volume knobs, as soon as you start rolling the volume knob down, your tone goes away. It means all your treble, your high end, it goes away. People are like, well, you can put a treble bleed circuit in there and it helps. I don't want it helps. I want it doesn't change. That's why I use the Morley pedals, because they're the only volume pedals that keep your tone consistent all the time at any level. Put your volume where you want it and your tone will not change. On your guitar, it will change all over the flipping place. On the ground, just so you know what's down here, that's just my Morley volume pedal, so my tone don't change. This is a compressor. Boss CS3 is what the world uses. It's about 50-50 now with this and a Wampler. That thing has compressors on it too. Everything does. Country pickers and bass players for sure. Everything's about compression. If you don't use compressors on anything, you're pretty much out of the know. But here's probably the biggest thing that makes good old country guitar sound like good old country guitar. And most people just don't know how to use a compressor correctly. But there's a lot of good videos on them, and there's a lot of really horrible ones. I leave mine on all the time. I have 2 of them that I leave in the back of my rack, and you never see them, and they both stay on all the time, because I like plenty of squash. I'll show you what that is in a little bit. This is just a wah-wah. I won't be using that unless we're doing some disco. This is not a pedal board. This here is simply a controller for my amplifier, since my sounds are built in my amp. If I didn't have the amp with all the built-in sounds, then I would use that effects thing behind me, which is generally what I do, because I don't usually take my amp anymore. I just take one of those pedals and throw it on the ground and plug right in the mixing board and I'm good to go. Less is more sometimes. Or just take the laptop and play through that. It's just the way things are so easy, might as well do it. Take advantage of it. Okay, so I would say put you up a few settings. 3 or 4 settings all right next to each other that you can toggle between very easily. Okay, so one that you're going to want to have is use the reverb on the pedal, not on your amp. Because you're going to want different amounts of reverb, different kinds of reverbs. You'll find that out as soon as you turn the effects unit on, how much better the reverb in there sounds than that old spring reverb on your amp that's super noisy. Check out this reverb. Got a little phase shifter going on. Just gorgeous. And lots of it. That's for my pedal steel stuff. And if I do this, it goes away, the sound, because that's what guitar does. But the compressor will bring that back. It's gonna go forever. You cannot get that without a compressor. It will not happen. Okay, so set you up a nice something with reverb, and I'll tell you the deal with what I was using here, and it's great for all your other stuff too, like White Lightning. Using just this neck pickup and using your pick way back here in the back, like real close to the bridge, it gives you a sound that they always used to use. You're not picking way up here. This here is 10 times better than any effect you're going to use, is how or where you play it. Because otherwise that's just horrible. But that's what the neck pickup on a Tele sounds like. That's just the way they made them. But if you play back here, all the way at the back, I mean, my pick is touching the saddles. And it doesn't give you that real bright sound of being up here. That's just so wrong. It's just wrong. And so that's how they get that cool sound that doesn't bite your head off, is they just play it way back here and use the neck pickup. And it's really good for stuff if you're going to use tremolo. That's one of the effects you'll probably never use. Maybe once a year. As cool as it always was, there's just never any reason to have it. But if you want to. It's one of those that gets overused real quick and your ears fatigue of that sound very quickly. Another one that does that is a phase shifter, and you only find it on one song that you'll ever do, and that's Lukenbach, Texas. It's just, let's see, where is it? It's right here. Yeah, good old Waylon, he loved his phase shifter, but that's about the only time you would ever use it. So, you know, maybe have 1 or 2 odd patches, you know, down the pedal board that are easy to get to still, but that you're not going to have to get to very often. So, you know, just put them a couple, you know, down to patch 5 and patch 6. Just put them and use 1 through 4 for the stuff you have to have. Other than that, the other thing you need is, when I go to the bridge, here comes the sound everybody's looking for. It's a little bit of, it's again, bridge pickup right there, and a little bit of overdrive, okay, which is Just, it's not distortion. The more harder you hit it, the more you get out of it, but when I turn on my compressor in a second, it will defeat that purpose. And this is how everybody's been playing the country sound for quite a long time now. This is the country sound of the 80s, late 70s and on. As soon as the compressor hit the world, it was all over. Okay, so you have, you know, it's not really distortion, it's just a little bit of overdrive, and it's definitely a different setting on there. So again, nice and all the way back here to the bridge. And now we're going to turn on the compressor in a second, but we have a 100 millisecond slapback delay. You hit the note, there's an equal volume output on the second note that is 100 milliseconds, which is kind of like a pube split 5 ways. So there's 2 notes there. You don't want them too far apart, otherwise it sounds like a major effect. And I'll show you the difference of that in just a second. So that setting, everything's still white up here. I'm just using my volume pedal and keeping my tone. I'm going to turn on my compressor now and use that sound. And this is, you'll hear where it's at. It's just what everybody uses. Okay? Another example of the compressor was when Diamond Rio came out. Everything was so smooth sounding. The compressors do that too. They take off the sharp edges when you hit something too strong, and if you don't hit something quite right, it brings it all together. It takes the soft stuff, brings it up, takes the hard stuff, brings it down, but you get it adjusted so it don't take away every bit of your dynamics. You can still play hard and soft and control that, or control it with your feet. That's what I do. But when you got to like a mirror, mirror, that's when things started going like that. Then every sound in the world became that. So you have to have that sound. So again, 100 millisecond delay and slight bit of overdrive, not much. Just so it's not squeaky clean, and the bridge pickup. And a lot of it too has to do right there with playing with your fingers. Or the chicken picking, that's where that sound is. You know, it's got that sound. So if you can play with your fingers or do the hybrid picking with your there, and so you play with a couple fingers in your pick, that's what really makes that happen with the compressor. It's all that squashy sounding stuff. It's called being squished, and pulling out on the strings really hard. You're trying to pop them instead of play them. So most of that kind of style is pulling strings out this way, kind of like a funk bass player would do it. Okay, other than those basic sounds, you will, let's see, like I said, the phase shifter you ain't going to use much, blah, 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 blah. When you're on this delay, you're going to want to use it all the time, but don't. I use it once a month maybe for something like this, and that is that kind of stuff. See, that's delay, and people have been down to that damn delay pedal of theirs that they got, you know, spent $800 on because it looked good in the magazine. Everybody else had one in the chat room. Yours is built into the same one unit for 25 bucks. Sounds every bit as good as theirs. My amplifier is made by Digitech. Same people who do that. It's the same flipping stuff. Don't let anybody tell you different. It's all marketing, kids. That kind of thing, I might stick it in a slow tune or like Silver Wings. Slowly fading out of sight. It's just all over the place. So that's just a one-time thing. Put it down there with the phase shifter. You're never going to use it again. Big time phase. Here it is, quieted down. Might be good for a pedal steel guitar or something. But when you're playing those pedal steel licks, a lot more reverb. And you can't do it without a volume pedal. And doing it like this, you're just constantly rolling your tone up and down because you're using this, which kills your tone. So it's a really horrible thing. But when you're doing all your other stuff, just hit one button, change patches, and your reverb is totally different. And it's just nice and clean. And the softer you play, of course. Let's see. Alabama Lady Down on Love had the compressor on it. Nothing else. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. It's the one effect that everybody just thinks they need, and it takes a long time to get over it if you've been using it for a long time, and you'll want to use it a lot. But I find now that I never use it. I use it for Purple Rain if I ever had to play it, and that's the only song, whereas I would never shut it off before, and that's chorus. Like Lady Down on Love did not have chorus on it. Everybody thinks it did, which is... Okay, and everybody thinks that it was this type of thing, which is, it sounds pretty by itself, but again, try to stay away from chorus if you can. It's not that damn pleasing to the ears. It sounds cool, but it gets old on your ears real quick, and the audience, they can't stand that after a while. They don't know why, but they don't like your band the way it sounds. They don't know it's just your damn chorus pedal. And it can be something that simple. See, so it's neat, but it's not that usable. And definitely don't have it on during distortion stuff. It's just not a beautiful thing. So those are basically the basics of what I would use. Go down there. That's this. That's my... There's nothing else unless you just want a good distortion sound of some sort. A lot of the slow tunes I will play. Okay, there you've got a little bit of delay going in your distortion. But that's about it, man. So I say definitely go for the cheap all-in-one Digitech or Boss for 25-30 bucks off of eBay. Get a nice, strong, clean sounding amplifier, like one of the PVs, or a couple other people made some great ones. God, that you can pick up for nothing. Even these Johnsons that have everything, they were 2,200 bucks when I got it. Now they're like 300 bucks. Grab one of those. It's got everything built in it. You don't need the effect thing. You just get the board that comes with it that turns on all the effects and stuff. But that's all I would use. Everything else is just so amazingly overdone. When it starts to sound like an effect, shut it off. When it sounds like it's still a guitar, keep it. Alright, be groovy.